In a peaceful pond, nestled deep within an ancient forest, there lived a community of frogs. This pond was a place of serene beauty, surrounded by tall, swaying reeds, and there were plenty of activities to keep the frogs occupied. They could sit on the pond, sit in the pond, sit on a lilypad, or, a particular favorite of the older frogs, sit on each other. But some people are never happy, and by some people, I mean the younger frogs. The younger frogs felt restless and unfulfilled and began to do strange things, straying further from the pond, sitting on land, sitting in mushrooms, etc. The older frogs were content with the simple pleasures of their lives. But the younger ones longed for excitement, for a sense of purpose, for something or someone to lead them. One day, as the young frogs gathered in the usual meeting place, one particularly ambitious frog spoke up. "We have lived too long without direction," he declared. "We need a king. Without a king, we are like leaves blown about by the wind, aimless and lost." The other frogs, caught up in the fervor of his speech, began to croak their agreement. So, with one loud and unanimous croak, the frogs called out to the heavens, beseeching the great god Zeus to send them a king. Zeus heard the frogs' plea. Amused by the request, he decided to grant it, but with a touch of mischief, he selected a large, solid log and hurled it down from the sky, where it landed with a great splash in the middle of the pond. The frogs, startled by the sudden appearance of the log, dove into the water, hiding beneath the lily pads. Impressed by the big noise and size of the log, they waited in fearful silence for the next move of their powerful new king. The log, meanwhile, floated quietly on the surface. As the days passed and the log grew green, the frogs began to realize that they had not received the king that they'd sought. It provided no leadership and certainly no excitement. The older frogs thought it was a pretty nice log and continued with their usual activities. But like I said, some people are never happy. Eventually, the same young ambitious frog from before stood on the now upturned log and spoke. "This is not the king we asked for," he croaked angrily. "We need a real king, somebody with strength and authority. Zeus has made a mistake." So, for a second time, the frogs called out to Zeus, begging for a true king who would rule them properly. Zeus, who at this point was pretty pissed, decided to teach the frogs a lesson. He sent down a large bird to be their new king. The frogs, who had been so eager for a powerful ruler, quickly realized their mistake. This bird was not a benevolent king. It was a frogicidal maniac. It wasted no time in snatching up the frogs one by one and devouring them without mercy. Panic spread throughout the pond and neighboring areas as the frogs tried to escape. But it wasn't easy to hide, especially for the young frogs who were hanging out on land, probably trying to look cool. In their desperation, they called out to Zeus. But Zeus, having given them what they'd asked for, did not intervene further. The frogs who did survive learned a harsh lesson that day. They realized that their desire for a king had led them to a terrible fate. "Let's never ask for a king again," said one young frog, who had survived by hiding beneath some lily pads. "What's that now?" said two older frogs, who were busy with their own activities. "We should learn to value the freedom and simplicity of our own existence," said the young frog. "Perhaps you should try getting laid once in a while and stop trying to change everything," said the two older frogs, who were busy with their own activities. "Also," said the young frog, "let's never trust Zeus again. He seems like a real piece of shh," said the older frogs. "Hush now." And there was peace once more in the frog pond.